From the Weather NorCal Command Center, this is your morning update.
Advanced Meats and Grocery is much more than a grocery store. We carry a full line of quality meats, local and organic vegetables, and a large variety of fish, Green Mountain Smart Control pellet grills, and a full deli case of sandwiches and side dishes.
Hello everyone, I'm Chief Meteorologist Mike Kruger. We had a little snafu with the fill-in for Brian, so I will be doing a couple of the updates today, but he should be filling in here later on today, and not to mention going into your Friday, as I will be taking some time off, some much needed time off here with my family. But in the meantime, I'm here for your update, so let's get you right into it. Now, the first thing I want to mention is that I typically, when I'm doing the weather updates, I give you an in-depth fire report based on the latest data that's been coming in for the morning hours. So typically in this morning update, when I do Coffee with Kruger, which I will not be doing it this morning, I will then give you even more updates on the fires as well. Then I typically don't really cover the fires at noon or in the evening. But I want you to know that there is a great resource that I've developed for you here at weathernorcal.com. All you have to do is just scroll down to this image here. You see how it says fire danger. You click there and it has everything that you need, including watch duty, all the evacuation orders and warnings, what's going on with the fire weather, all of that stuff. So a great one-stop shop for you to check out. Go to weathernorcal.com and click on the fire section. All right, let's get you to the forecast here. And before we get to those fires, let's just talk about what's going on. Because there's the big picture, there's still a lot going on here. The heat, right? That's still, and it's sticking around not only for the rest of the week, but even into at least the first half of the weekend. Still hot, still dry. This is going to keep that fire danger elevated. Now, another thing that I'm concerned about is over the weekend, there's going to be the potential for some thunderstorms for especially the Southern Cascades and Northern Sierra. This is something we've got to watch for as we go, especially for Saturday, but even into Sunday. Now, the temperatures, they're going down starting Sunday, and they'll stay down there through the middle of next week. But it looks like they may go back up again toward the end of next week. We'll take a closer look at that here in a second. But today, yeah, I mean, they're not going down. They're just going up, right? 112 degrees for the valley, 110 plus really for most of us in the valley. Although places like Chico, not quite as hot. And then we got the hazy and smoky skies for the areas that are closest to the Shelley fire in particular. And then we got for the North Coast, temperatures there, obviously much cooler, in the low 60s. All right, let's get you to the Shelley fire. Now, this is data that's been updated, and this fire perimeter that you see here, so you see this solid red, that's the older fire perimeter where you see a bit of a kind of a shading there. That is where we've seen the new growth. So the new growth has been on the northeast flank of the fire here. We're also seeing a little bit of growth here kind of filling in as well. So that gives you an idea. Now again, this is as of late last night that this fire perimeter came in. There may be a new one coming up later this morning, so keep a close eye on for that. That being said, the latest this morning, between the hours of 5 and 6 a.m., you're at 8,736 acres. Unfortunately, we are still at 0% containment on this fire. So let's kind of get a nice perspective and a better perspective, kind of an aerial view coming in from Scott Valley. Here's Etna, there's Cheeseville, and there's Greenview. Here's Highway 3 right here, and of course here's the valley. That fire, it just keeps moving closer and closer, moving over the ridges, back down, then back over some of the ridges. So we can see the terrain here that we're dealing with. There's a look at Greenview. That fire, again, you can see how it's just kind of coming closer to the valley, unfortunately. And there's a look at Fort Jones. You know, when we look at the fire and the distances to these communities here in a second, you'll see that it is and has moved closer over the last 24 hours, and most likely moved even a little bit closer from that point. There you can see you're looking at Mill Creek Road right here, this kind of area right here. And then what I wanted to show you here is all of these streets, and you've got this community. The fire is right here, so it is kind of moving down that ridge and then moving closer to this community right here. Now, another interesting perspective here is Deacon Lee Place that is, and there's Etna right there. So the fire over the last 24 hours moved up this ridge. Here's the ridge right here. Now it's moving down it. So you've got this kind of valley right here. And then, you know, if it were to continue its path, so it's got to go up one more ridge, down the other, and now we're in Scott Valley. All right, so this is the area that bears watching. Now, as you may or may not know, what the firefighters have been doing over the last several days has been taking measures to help protect the communities of Etna and Greenview and Fort Jones, for example, right? So should the fire reach those areas, they will have that protection in place and it'll have a much better stance against the fire. But this is what we've got to really watch closely as far as that overall growth from the fire. So again, the darker shades of red, that's from about 24 hours ago. This right here, the lighter shade, or the kind of where it's kind of faded out a little bit here, this right here is that growth. So let's take a look at some of the distances from the communities here. So you can see here that we do have, let me see if I can get this up here. There it is. There's Fort Jones, 9.6. 4.1 miles to Greenview and 4.6 miles from Etna. Now, yesterday when I was reporting this, it was a little over 5 miles. So again, it just moves in. In fact, taking a look at the distance from the old perimeter to the new one, you're now at 1 mile. So it has moved 1 mile distance in a matter of 24 hours. That's quite a distance if you think about it. From the standpoint of, you know, a mile from that distance here. So quite a distance here, still that, again, just under 9,000 acres. And most likely, later this morning, we may hear that it's probably now, at this point, probably even over 9,000 acres. There's the bogus fire at 411 acres. Again, the data coming in from the bogus fire has not been the greatest, but overall, at last I checked, about 40% containment. All the evacuation orders and warnings have been lifted that we saw earlier this week with this fire. Some of the distances from some of these communities, again, there's that fire, 24 miles from Doris. We take you out to Wairika at about 15.7 miles and Montague about 11.6 miles. Overall, I wouldn't consider this to be much of a threat to those communities, but obviously bears watching. Now, the smoke, it doesn't look like we're going to see as much smoke. Now, obviously, if you're in Scott Valley, you're saying, what are you talking about? Of course, there's going to be plenty of smoke in Scott Valley. And we are seeing some of that haze making its way into other areas as well. Now, we still have the fire over southern Oregon burning, and it is producing some smoke, and that is going to produce some haze for places like eastern Siskiyou County and into Modoc County as well. But then you can also see out towards towards Etna and Fort Jones, for example. Then you can see, of course, the Shelley Fire producing another round of smoke that'll be pushing itself eastward a little bit to the south. Now, all of this that you see here is considered haze. So there will be a bit of that orange tint, a little bit of that orange glow in the sky, but overall, it's not going to be as bad. Now, before we get to the winds, I did want to kind of show you something that I think you'll find of interest, and this is something that, you know, we take a look at the heat signatures coming in from space. So this is, you can see now the beginning phase. I'm going to go ahead and stop this animation here so you can see a little bit better here. So right before sunset, you can see there just wasn't much of a glow. Now look closely. There you can see up right up. So overnight, not much activity with the fire, but here, as we get closer to sunrise, there it is. There is that orange glow. So it looks like this morning we have seen the fire activity kind of ramp up a little bit, unfortunately, this morning, which is going to obviously produce more smoke and means that the fire is still quite active. And when we're talking about 0% containment, that just doesn't make anybody feel any better. So we're talking about the bogus fire. You can see here the North Fire, now 9 hours ago, now it's 65% contained. It remains at 4,389 acres. And again, we're talking about that fire in southern Oregon. It's called the Salt Creek Fire. This is the one that's also producing smoke for, central, for Siskiyou County and into Modoc County as well. It is, of course, as of 3 hours ago, 16% containment at 3,891 acres. So just kind of wanted to point that out here. And here's a time lapse. Find this kind of interesting here from the last 12 hours or so from Scott Valley. Now, it's not pointed at the fire, but it is showing the smoke that we are seeing that's being produced by this fire here. And if we take a look at some of the latest images, there's overnight. Again, you're not seeing much here at this point. Maybe the sun will kind of come up a little bit, and you can see some of that smoke has really, if you look closely, and I'll kind of show you here, I'll kind of get on the green screen here. What you'll see here is here's the sky above, right? Here's the mountain range. The smoke, as you can see here, this is all smoke, and it's settled down in the valley. Kind of think about that smoke being in there, and then the cooler air sinks down to the valley, which is normal. That cooler air brings that smoke along with it. So that'll eventually kind of mix on out. But there's going to be more smoke, as we did see, that is going to be produced from the fire. All right, let's take a look at those winds. And, you know, the same setup, right? Where the winds are fairly calm in the morning, they pick up in the afternoon. Calm Friday morning, they pick up as we go into Friday afternoon. There you can see even for the valley. But, of course, stronger winds off to the east. This here, you see the stronger winds, especially in Modoc County? This is a bit of a concern, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here in a second. The relative humidity, we're still seeing that decent recovery. What do I mean by recovery? Well, instead of the single digits and teens that we see in the afternoon, we're seeing the recovery get into the 30, even 40% range in the morning hours, which is the recovery that the firefighters need. Now, you'll notice today, humidity not as low for Trinity County, Western Siskiyou County. That's good. That's going to help the firefighters. But it's still very dry. Should a fire start here, it could spread very rapidly because of the very dry conditions and the dry fuels. Again, there's that recovery. See what I'm talking about? Although not very good in Chico, but at least about 30% on average here for tomorrow morning. But look at tomorrow afternoon. We're actually looking at lower humidity now for Trinity County, Western Siskiyou County, and not to mention everywhere else, right? With the exception of the coast, obviously. So the fire weather risk is well within that high to very high range for the valley. We're seeing the typical spots in Siskiyou County, Modoc County, and Lassen County. And then there you can see Trinity County, Western Siskiyou County doesn't seem to be as bad. However, as we go into Friday, look at this. Number one, of course, the valley, typical, right? We're getting in that red, getting in the high to very high range. But notice a lot more orange being filled in here for Modoc County, Lassen County as well, and Central Siskiyou County. Even a little bit of orange making its way into Trinity County as well. So the fire danger is increasing for the mountains as we go into the end of the week. Now, a couple of things that we're going to take a look at. The fire potential. On top of the dry and windy conditions and hot conditions, we've got thunderstorms to look at. Here's Saturday. There's a potential for lightning strikes. Here's a look at Sunday. There's a potential for lightning strikes. Now, Monday, these days are off. This should actually be Sunday. So the first one, I'm going to take you back. Let's take you back. The days are wrong. This is actually Friday. So scratch that out. That's Friday. There you can see. I don't think it's going to be quite that far to the north. But as we go into Saturday, this should say Saturday that we're looking at here, and then Sunday. Bottom line is this. We do have some monsoon moisture coming in, and that could bring us a potential for some mountain thunderstorms. Now, fire weather watch has been issued for Modoc County. Remember I was showing the stronger winds coming in on Friday, not to mention the drier conditions and hot. That's why there's a fire weather watch basically through the day on Friday for Modoc County. So we've got that elevated fire danger, and the National Weather Service has decided to kind of amp that up by issuing that fire weather watch. Will eventually, of course, then get issued into a red flag warning. Now, you'll notice, as we look at the heat alerts across western United States, we're starting to see those heat advisories and warnings disappear for Washington, northern Idaho, and even into northern portions of Oregon. That's because the heat wave is dropping for them, but it's sticking around for us. That's because the vicinity of that area of high pressure is still very close to us, and that's keeping those temperatures very high. In some cases, the advisories, even for Northern California, are through Saturday, believe it or not. So we look at the area, the satellite image here. Now take note. This is the monsoon moisture that you're seeing right here. We're starting to see some of that kind of creep up, getting closer to Southern California. That's what we've got to watch as it works its way northward here over the next couple of days. So let's talk about that heat. There's the dome of heat. You see how it's not as hot as we head off towards the Pacific Northwest. That's why those advisories are being allowed to expire. Now, you see what's happening as we go into Sunday and into Monday. This area of high pressure is scooting off to the east and breaking down. I've said this before and I've mentioned it. The dome of high pressure. The bigger the dome, the higher the dome is, the hotter the temperatures. When we start to break that dome down and see it shrink, our temperatures begin to drop. And that's essentially what's happening as this, what we call a trough of low pressure, warmer air associated with it, but it's kind of riding over that ridge and breaking it down, allowing our temperatures to drop. So the temperatures, yeah, they're going down, especially by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. See how that's riding over the ridge right here? That is helping to kind of really suppress the heat from that area of high pressure through the middle of next week. Now, once that kind of scoots on off to the east, it's going to allow this high pressure to move back by the end of next week, Thursday, Friday. So you see how it's building and getting stronger. So what we're going to see is our temperatures go down for Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday, and then back up toward the end of next week. Check this out for the July temperatures. Sharon Clay texted me last night, and she was asking me about the 110 plus degree temperatures. And she said, how did we break a record? Have we seen 110 plus for an extended period of time? And I told her what happened was, starting July 3rd, we saw 110 or higher. There's 111. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 consecutive days where we saw 110 degrees plus. That tied the record set 2 times since we've been taking records in Reading since 1893. Now, what happened was on Tuesday, just shy of 110 degrees with a high of 109. That broke the stretch, but now we're seeing another stretch come in. Yesterday, 114, and then as we go into Thursday, Friday, maybe even to Saturday, 110 plus will continue. So we get another stretch of 3 to 4 days. But wouldn't it have been interesting is if we saw at least 110 there, then we would have broken that record of 6 consecutive straight days. Kind of interesting little fact, she didn't even know it stayed below 110 degrees on Tuesday. So kind of interesting. So there's that trend going up, right? But then we're back down closer to normal through Wednesday. And then, yeah, there are those temperatures going back up, maybe even 110 degrees. Not this upcoming weekend. Well, of course this upcoming weekend, but again, that next weekend as well. So we take a look at the coast, and there is through the day. You know, I think we're going to see a better chance for some of that fog burning off for places like Crescent City, but maybe a harder time out along places along Humboldt County, except down to the south. So Shelter Cove may see a little bit more in the way of sunshine. Let's go and take you into your Friday. Thursday night into Friday morning. Again, you see some of that fog filtering down into Highway 101, inland areas, Humboldt Bay, and some patchy fog even around Crescent City tomorrow morning. And then we go into tomorrow afternoon. And again, that fog is staying fairly consistent and having a hard time really breaking up. So we'll call it partly to mostly cloudy skies for the coast, having a harder time for especially central portions of Humboldt County. But there's that monsoon moisture creeping its way in. On Friday, there's a chance we could see maybe extreme eastern portions of Plumas County, Lassen County, seeing a chance for some of those thunderstorms. But I think we're really going to hold off for that chance for the southern Cascades and northern Sierra for Saturday, Sunday. There's the area of high pressure, monsoon moisture that we see typical this time of the year. The positioning of this high has the flow around that area of high pressure coming into the Cascades and Sierra, and that's going to bring that monsoon moisture. So Saturday, Sunday, I think is the best chance for thunderstorms around Modoc County, Lassen County, and parts of Plumas County as well. And of course, not to mention southward into places like South Lake Tahoe, for example, right? That's Saturday. That's also going to be the case on Sunday. You see how we're seeing a few pop up, and notice even a little bit popping up a little bit more to the west. So some of that monsoon moisture may make its way even more to the west. So we've got to look out for Siskiyou County and even the mountains of Shasta County. That's Saturday and Sunday. So what's the biggest concern with a setup like this? Well, the rain is nice from the monsoon moisture, but the thunderstorms, the lightning strikes that are associated with that, not so great. So that's going to be the biggest threat as we go through the weekend. Now we take you into the rest of next week. That high pressure will actually kind of scooch off to the east. As it does that, we lose that flow of monsoon moisture, and the chances for showers and thunderstorms will most likely diminish as we go into Monday, Tuesday, really through next week. So here's a look at your wave heights. They're actually going to be, they've increased over the last 24 hours, and you'll notice it's not changing much going into your Friday. There is a small craft advisory for today. There's a small craft advisory even going into your Friday as well, with northwest winds at about 15 to 20 knots. Could see those gusts even higher, 35, 40 knots. All right, here's a look at your Trinity County neighborhood forecast. Yes, the heat continues, but there's the relief by Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Temperatures dropping back down to the upper 90s. All right, taking a look at the coast, of course, no big changes, right? Mid-60s, partly to mostly cloudy skies over the next 7 days. We take you up north, 101 for Orleans, 101 for Hoopa, so still hot. hazy, a little smoky. You know, that haze and smoke may extend into the weekend too, but temperatures are dropping mid-90s by next Tuesday and Wednesday. We'll certainly take that. Taking a look at Siskiyou County, there you can see temperatures over 100 degrees there, 101 for Weed, 94 degrees for Tennant, and there's the hazy skies here, even for Mount Shasta. Now, I've got the chance for showers and thunderstorms on Saturday. What you'll notice here is the bigger chances for places like Modoc County. That's why I've got the lightning strikes in there for Saturday, Sunday, but the temperatures are dropping as well. A bit on the hazy, smoky side as well for Thursday and Friday. Taking a look at the eastern mountains, also that chance for thunderstorms here as we go into Saturday and Sunday. Otherwise, we're looking at things cooling off back down into the mid-90s by the second half of the weekend and early next week. And your Valley Neighborhood Forecast, brought to you by NorCal Tractor. Your temperatures are going to be, of course, over 100 degrees. Now, as you head to the south, places like Hamilton City, 105, Chico, 108, 107 for Durham. As we head northward, yeah, we're over 110 degrees. Places like Reading, 112, 106 for Whiskeytown, 109 for Lakehead, and 110 at least through Saturday for Red Bluff. And that'll be the case for Reading as well. We're up to about 113 degrees on Saturday, 104 Sunday, and just kind of hovering around that 101 to 102 for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
We're the locals down the street. The neighbor you come to for advice. A nest egg for the golden years. A loan or a new account for that growing business. What started in Chico 50 years ago has taken us all around California, providing big bank lending power and high-tech service, while keeping our relationships personal. We're still the locals down the street, no matter where your street might be. Tri-Counties Bank, California's local bank.